I would move on to topic number 7, and this was scary on Saturday night. Just outside of Nationals Park in D.C., there was a shooting, and it was just outside the ballpark. I don't know if folks have ever been there. I've been to that ballpark, and it's an area that they're trying to redevelop in D.C., but it's kind of not totally developed yet. And you could hear the shots from some of the game broadcast, some of the fan cameras, and fans were going crazy. Some of the fans went into the dugout to shelter in place, so to speak, Brandon. This was a crazy night over in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, so they thought it was an active shooter, and what really happened was there was an altercation outside between two parties, and it was almost like a drive-by shooting that happened outside the park. But because of the area and just a close proximity to the park, you could definitely hear the shots ringing out inside the park. So people thought it was an active shooter. So there was a little bit of panic that set in, and I don't blame them, especially in a country where, unfortunately, there has been so many of these incidents that happen. But people were really looking to scramble and save their loved ones, which I don't blame. I think that's the first thing that most of us would do, would be to, look to save yourself and look to save your friends and your loved ones and to scramble wherever you need to. And a lot of people, like you said, hey, jumped even on the field and looked to sprint into the dugout. And I think I would have done the same, and to throw a little bit of light on the situation, I think I would have tried to grab some gum when I was in there, because you know how they just have the serious stacks of gum in the dugout, man. I would have to grab some gum. And I know, don't take a shot. This is a serious topic, but I immediately thought if I was in the dugout, I would have had to been at least checking it out. But I think if I was so close to the field that, yeah, I would have been on the field trying to get to those places. And they said even the players at that point were saying for the fans to come onto the field and come into the dugout, because they realized the gravity of the situation and that it could be an active shooter. Nobody really knew what was going on. Luckily and thankfully, it was not, and it was not inside the park. It was outside. And so that brought the whole level down. And at one point, they came on the PA system saying, calm down, please calm down. The incident is outside of the park. And I think that was huge, because I do think it brought some calm over the situation and helped to calm down the situation, because I think everybody was really fired up. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them one bit. So, yeah, really scary situation when you think you're just going to go to the ball game to catch a game with your family and eat a dog, maybe drink a beer, and then potentially you find yourself in a situation like this. So I think they did the right thing with calling the game and evacuating the stadium so they could, A, get everybody safe and home to their families and make sure that they cleared out the stadium without any issues. There's no reason to play a game when we have potential loss of life outside the stadium and people getting hurt. So I think they made the right call with evacuating the stadium and postponing the game. And it also allowed the authorities to be able to do their job outside the park and investigate the shooting as well. So I think the Nationals did a great job, and I think the local D.C. authorities did a great job as well. But yeah, really scary situation.
Yeah, I think the scariest part of it, too, when you watch some of the fan cams and things, like you mentioned before, is there was a chance they thought there was an active shooter inside the stadium. So you've got fans looking around like, where do I go? So you don't – at that point, they didn't quite know where the shooting was taking place. So that's why they went in the dugout, like you said. That's why they went out into the field to try to just kind of shelter in place. And then when you hear that it was outside the stadium, you hear the PA announcer say, you're actually safe inside the stadium, don't leave. So it's just a chaotic, confusing situation for the fans, because you immediately think, if something crazy is happening, I need to leave the ballpark. But if you leave the ballpark, you're actually getting closer to the danger zone, which was where everything was happening outside the ballpark. I believe there were 3 people that got shot. One of them was a fan. I believe it was a woman fan at the Nationals game. I believe she's okay. I don't think there was any serious injuries from the whole shooting. I mean, anytime you get shot, it's serious, but I don't think it was anything too grave for a long-term injury. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that more people didn't either get hurt, get shot, that wasn't stampeded or anything like that. This could have been a lot worse. And like you mentioned, good job by the Nationals and the D.C. Metro Police, figuring all this out. But just a chaotic scene. That's the I'm I don't want to say I'm surprised it doesn't happen more, but a lot of these stadiums are either in sort of some of the tougher areas of some of these cities. Fenway's right in the middle of the Fenway neighborhood, and there's restaurants and stuff around, so it's a little different. But some of these other stadiums are in some of the rougher areas, and because that's just where there was land and they could build a stadium there. So I'm almost surprised this doesn't actually happen a little bit more often, where you do hear gun violence outside a stadium. But it was weird to see that. It was almost like a couple decades ago when there was an earthquake during an Oakland A's game, and they were talking about it over the air, where something like that, unfolds on the air during a game. So, like we said, thank God nothing worse happened besides what happened outside of the ballpark.
Yes, scary situation, real scary situation there for everybody involved. And it's certainly a situation that hopefully we don't ever see again. But you never know, unfortunately, in 2021 and going forward.